So, welcome everyone. Let's take a moment of silence and invoke Mother Sri Aurobindo's presence before we start the session today. So, today we have to begin with this new book and canto. Book 2, the book of the traveler of the worlds. So far we were reading that Ashwapati has got this kind of a new vision, and with that vision, he's able to see much beyond what we usually see, and he can see worlds and worlds. And earlier we were reading how, like a ladder, these worlds exist, of which we are not aware because we are so lost usually in our grosser motor senses that rarely do we have a chance to not be engaged there and to be aware of something which is beyond that sensory world, like subtle sense. We rarely use our subtle senses. But he, because of his sadhana, because of his effort, is able to now have a vision of all these different planes of consciousness, worlds that are existing simultaneously, parallelly with the world that we think is the only world. So now the first canto here is called the World Stair. So let's take up some new lines today and begin to reflect upon. Yes, if anyone would like, we can take the first few lines in blue.
Alone the world stared. Alone he moved, watched by the infinity around him and the unknowable above. All could be seen that shuns the mortal eye. All could be known the mind has never grasped. All could be done no mortal will can dare. A limitless movement filled limitless.
Yes, thank you. So I think one thing which comes again and again is this aloneness. Usually we are always, mostly, if not always, mostly we are afraid to be alone. And we very easily call back our older friends and older thoughts and memories, and we don't, as if we can't stand that aloneness. But here it comes again and again that how Ashwapati, in the sadhana that he does, in this ascent of consciousness, earlier also it had come that he, in his aloneness, and only his footsteps uh, could be seen, and no other footsteps were there. Hmm. So that we see that there is this uh, sadhana that can be, no matter how many good friends you have outwardly, you may have very good friends who may be spiritual, it doesn't matter, but the inward sadhana is all by oneself. So alone he moved, watched by the infinity around him and the unknown, infinity around him and the unknowable above. So around him, it's just like a vastness. There is never-ending vastness. This we become aware of when we usually watch these videos of space and telescopic images taken by big telescopes. We become aware of a never-ending universe, universes and universes, galaxies and galaxies, and it's just never-ending. It's like They have not been able to find कि अच्छा यहाँ पे कुछ खत्म हो गया, कि all that ends here, our search. But we see that even if we go into space and begin to discover new stuff and new galaxies with the powerful telescopes now that we have, we see that it's just like a vastness in which we are there. And oftentimes it helps very much that who are we but a speck of dust in that vastness. So imagine that all the galaxies are there and all the, the planets and the stardust and the material is roaming around here and there. And who are we? Where is Earth? Earth will also be just a speck of dust in that vastness. And at times our problems become so big. And if we realize that vastness, then we see that, oh my God, it's nothing. I can let it go. Really, what is it? What is my problem in the magnanimity of this universe? So it can help us lighten up a little bit. Alone he moved, watched by the infinity around him and the infinity around him and the unknowable above. So around him there is this vastness, like these world stair is also here, and above, what is there? Unknowable above. So that is where this stair is going. It is the stair is spread in this vastness, the infinity, and it is going up to the unknowable. All could be seen that shuns the mortal eye, because the mortal eye is forever busy with all the sensory input that can be seen, and then we keep on interpreting what we see or what we hear or what we touch or what we feel, and all the time we think that is what reality is, and we try to solve our dots there, connect our dots there, find our resolutions there, and forever we are just busy in that sensory world, the grosser sensory world. But now he could see something which is beyond the mortal eye. All could be seen that shuns the mortal eye. So there is this inner vision, the subtle vision. All could be known, the mind has never grasped. So what we try to understand logically, analytically, thinking about how this happened in my life and how that happened, and we try to connect dots with our analytical minds. Hmm? So there, everything is just known, which the little mind cannot grasp. Hmm? So all could be known, the mind has never grasped. All could be done, no mortal will can dare. So oftentimes we see in our life that we may have a feeling within that we want to do something, but for a very long time we are not able to take a step because many things come in between. The society, the people around us, my loved ones, who would think what I may, uh, you know, I may unsettle the structure around me, my family. So all could be done here. No mortal will can dare. So again, this strength of the spirit, the daring of the spirit, a limitless movement filled a limitless peace. So where there is a vastness of peace, there is a lot of stability. There, a lot of movement can also happen. But when the stability of peace is not there, then even a little bit of movement can disrupt things. Hmm? So that's what we see in the image of Kali and Shiva. If those of us who have seen, Shiva is lying on the floor and Kali is dancing on the breast of Shiva. If you have ever seen that picture, it can be easily found on Google. Hmm. So Shiva represents this immutability, the never changeability, immutability, peace, everlasting, on which the dance of Kali, which is time, the play of movements can happen. So a limitless movement, a never ending movement, filled a limitless peace. So again, the dance of Kali on the breast of Shiva. Let's look at this picture. I may try to find it and we may just have a look. If there is a reflection in the meantime, please share. Yeah, this one. Yeah, I got it. Here we see Shiva is lying down, and on his breast, Kali has her play. So this is very interesting because I often used to wonder as a child that this can't be. Maybe I have seen something wrong. Maybe it's a Rakshas who is lying down and Kali is dancing on the Rakshas or the Asura. But this is very interesting. In Sri Aurobindo, I feel that this is what it represents. That this immutability, the ever lasting, is like a vast ground, and prakriti or the play of time can be on that vast ground which is immutable, it can never change. So like a solid ground, and like if there is a role play that has to happen, and if people have to enact a play, we need a proper theatrical stage on which the people can enact that play. If the base is moving, that then they won't be able to enact the play very well. So Shiva provides, or in other words, we can say Purusha and Prakriti also. In other words, we can also say the two who are one. Purusha is this eternal consciousness which all of us have, and Prakriti is also what all of us have, the play of thoughts and feelings and all the gunas and the panch tattvas. All of that is Prakriti, the play of Prakriti. So it is in the background of consciousness, the backing of consciousness, that the play of Prakriti can happen. So a limitless movement filled a limitless peace. Yeah, anything here? Anyone? Any thoughts? Any comments?
I was remembering a video of Ken Wilber, which is an integral psychologist, and thinking about this image of Kali, of the dance, of the creation, and this Purusha, this field of this representation, and there is a video in which a woman asked him, like he's saying that many of the mystics were males through history, and they developed some kind of disciplines like meditation, for example, which is to stay as a witness, for example, for hours doing a meditation, and as a way to arrive to a radical experience of everything as one taste. He says, like, okay, if I detach completely, I can experience all the pain and all the joy and everything, like with immutability, and this leads me to experiment the divine, let's say, in everything. And the woman asked him, well, what would it be if more women mystics will have developed this other ways of approaching to this experience, and of course here female and male is just an archetype, but he said that in his opinion that there were, for example, many female mystics who were nurses, and for example, they, instead of this detaching completely from everything, the idea was to love until it hurts. He says, like a radical acceptance through love, of everything that arrives. Like, for example, uh, some nurses would lick the wounds of the lepers, or things like that. So radical, uh, to experience true love uh, until it hurts. Mother Teresa would say this, and that these were very different approaches, but to the same end, to 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 lead us to the experience of the one we never experienced, but like from a very different approach. And I remember this when you were showing this image.
Yeah, very true. In fact, Sri Aurobindo shares, I think there is a poem or a sonnet by Sri Aurobindo in which he talks about this scorpion bite. I don't know, maybe it's an anecdote or maybe a poem or a sonnet, where he says that in that scorpion bite also I experienced the delight of the Brahman, the delight. So what you were sharing, yes. Yeah.
This you say also reminds me, and I think it's an anecdote, a true story of Sri Ramakrishna, who was in meditation and got bitten by a snake, I think. And he said he was like in a trance, and he said, "Oh, Mother Kali, why did you beat me?" or something like
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting. Yes, so this would come also in the coming line, and that even pain is a delight there, what he is seeing. So let's read some more new lines. So if anyone can read the part in yellow, we can take it up for reflection.
that. I will. In a profound existence beyond Earth's, parent or kin to our ideas and dreams, where space is a vast experiment of the soul in an immaterial substance linked to ours, in a deep oneness of all things that are, the universe of the unknown arose.
Yeah. So usually, we live in separation because of our ignorance, because of our sense experience. We think that here is where my body ends and I also end here, and then there is something else that starts. So there is a categorization, there is a division between me and the other, and somehow that can also be, of course, related to this is what is ignorance. That we don't know who we truly are, and because of that we keep fighting, because of that we have wars, because of that we have all the things that are there. But now he becomes aware of this vast kind of a oneness, not even interconnectedness, because even when we say interconnectedness, there is a subtle kind of a feeling that there is first a division and then there is interconnectedness. But here it is just a vast oneness that he sees, deep oneness. So, in a profound existence beyond Earth's. So, whenever we talk about Earth's existence, we talk about material, like sensory, material, grosser world. Beyond this world of sensory, material, grosser world, in a profound existence beyond Earth's, parent or kin to our ideas and dreams. So, this existence, this profound existence, which is beyond earth, all that we can see, touch, feel, hear through our senses, this is the space from which our ideas and dreams are coming. Because imagine the first time a person thought that I want to fly, the person who would have thought about an aeroplane or thought about flying at all, where was that idea coming from that it is a possibility? Because in one particular world of all, out of all these worlds, there is not only a possibility, but the flying is possible. It is happening parallelly as we are talking about it. Is happening. So in these innumerable worlds which are there, whatever we think of or imagine, all the beauty, the harmony, it is happening at this particular moment as we talk about it. So all our ideas and dreams which are coming, which right now are not materialized, right now those things are not happening, but we think that in future that should happen. So they are coming from this profound existence beyond earth's sensory, this experience that we have. So these are the places from which we draw, because if mother says that if you are imagining something, it must be possible. Never think that it is not possible, because in some world it is a reality what you are thinking. And then we also have this book, I think it's a fiction book, by Richard Bach, I think, Illusions, where he talks about these parallelly existing universe. And he, like, I think in one of his books, maybe one or Illusions, in one of his books, they kind of are doing a flight, and by flight they are going into their past and correcting things there, and something like that. So time travel kind of a thing. So these kind of things are happening, parallel existence is there. And that is why we say that the moment we change our attitude, if the attitude is truly changed, then the world around us also in a way shifts. But we keep on waiting about the world and people to change, and we don't shift our attitude for a long time, thinking that they have to change first, the outer has to change first. But anyway, coming back to these lines, in a profound existence beyond earth's parent or kin to our ideas and dreams, where space is a vast experiment of the soul. So space is also conscious. Right now we don't see space as conscious. We think that, oh, there is an animal next to me, he is conscious, then I am conscious, then there may be a plant which has a little consciousness, stone may have sleeping consciousness, right? But the space is not conscious. We consider it as a void, as if there is no consciousness in that space. So here he could see where space is a vast experiment of the soul. So it's like a vast field of consciousness, and it is not dumb where things are happening in an immaterial substance linked to ours. So again, a reflection of this uh, subtle substance, which you people have also called this ether or consciousness. They say that they may be linked or may be very close, and scientists have tried to uh, have tools. They have tried, there have been experiments, they have tested that, can we get by this tool to measure ether and its flow. But so far the experiments have been unsuccessful in that sense, because it is very subtle. But it does not mean that if I can't test it by my tool or my instrument, that it is not there, right? I remember there was a psychic who was giving a lecture, and that psychic told the audience that you think that there are only 20 people present amongst us, but if you could see what I can see. She was an occultist who was giving a kind of a lecture on psychic science and occultism. She said that if you could see what I can see, then I can't tell you how many more beings are here also parallelly present, as we think that, okay, 20 of us are present here. So just because we can't see, it does not mean that more things are not existing. Just because our tools are limited, our instruments is limited. So this immaterial substance, it is a substance, but it is immaterial. Usually whenever we talk of substance, we talk of material, right? What I can touch and feel and grasp. But this is kind of a substance which is ungraspable, immaterial. So it's a vast experiment of consciousness which is going on. in a deep oneness of all things that are. Here he can see that deep oneness, and beyond all the separation, he can see the seeming separation. The universe of the unknown arose. So, as if you have got a new vision, and something now becomes just like in front. You can't help but notice that hmm, right on your face, you see it. But again, as we read earlier, that this required for Ashwapati to be here required so much of preparation. If we remember the earlier cantos, that how he rose, and leaving all the logical, analytical mind behind, entering the silent self and beyond. So we see that how much of sadhana is required so that we can be even get a glimpse of what all is there beyond our earthly sense. Yeah. Anything here? Anyone? Anything to share? Okay, so we can maybe take some more lines. Yeah.
I'll read, Monica.
Yes, yes. Please.
Yeah. A self-creation without end or pause revealed the grandeurs of the infinite. It flung into the hazards of its play a million moods, a myriad energies, the world shapes that are fancies of its truth, and the formulas of the freedom of its force. Thank you.
Thank you. So what he sees here is a self creation without end or pause. So it's like, a creation which is just out of itself forming things and forming 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 and forming, without end or pause. So it's like a never ceasing, endless creativity that he is able to see. That is why we also, I think, link the soul consciousness with lots of creativity. And oftentimes in our life, when we become very stagnant, as if we lose touch with that creativity within us. So soul is a creative movement. Soul is creative force. I think there is also a very beautiful article by Nolini Kant Gupta on this soul consciousness and how it is totally linked with this creative aspect. So a self creation without end or pause revealed the grandeurs of the infinite. It flung into the hazards of its play a million moods, a myriad energies, the world shapes that are fancies of its truth, and the formulas of freedom of its force. So that's how the creation is happening, the self creation. It has put into the creation lots of things, million moods, myriad energies, lots of different variety of energies it has put into the play, what we call Leela, what we call the divine's play, and flung into the hazards of the play because it is a dangerous play, but it's a play, so nothing to lose. The world shapes that are fancies of its truth. So whatever comes to the fancy of the supreme, the truth consciousness, it has put into creation. Ki, acha, today I feel like this. Okay, let's create this. Today I feel like this. Let's create this. So there is no end to that creation. Fancies. Usually, whenever we use the word whims and fancies, it's like, the moment you think about it and you think, okay, let's do this. Like out of your fancy, it is coming. You don't calculate it much. But along with all that, there are also formulas of freedom of its force. So not only all these million moods and myriad energies and world shapes, but there are also designated kind of laws which we see Prakriti. Prakriti has laws. That's what we study in physics. We study the laws of Prakriti, the formulas that are there. So freedom of its force is in capital, and I feel that it's again taking us towards the movement of Prakriti. How it seems like it is just like up blunt, but it also has formulas behind its working. That is what our sciences usually discover. All the astrological formulas and physical formulas and chemical formulas. So there are particular lines of working also behind all of that. Yeah, anything here? Anyone? Okay, so let's take some more lines. Yeah, these 3 lines you can take. Anyone who wants to read next?
It poured into the ever-stable's flux, a Bacchic rapture and revel of ideas, a passion and motion of everlastingness.
Yeah, thank you. So this self-creation, it pours into the ever stable's flux. So it's very interesting, the placing of words again we can see ever stable's flux. So it is a flux. Flux usually we refer with movement. Whenever we talk about flux, it is movement. But it's a movement which is a harmonious movement. There is a stability, a certain kind of a stability in that movement. No matter the movement is happening, but there is a stability. Usually, whenever we talk of movement, we think that nahi ab to hilega, something has to move, and in that movement we don't think of stability, but here it's a stable movement. It's a movement, but it's a stable harmonious movement. So this self creation, which is without end and pause, it poured into this movement that is there of uh, these all these million and myriad energies and million moods. It poured a Bacchic rapture and a revel of ideas. So this word had come earlier also, and this refers to this Greek or Roman gods of wine. So whenever we talk of gods of wine, it is a kind of a intoxication. You drink that wine and you are intoxicated. So it's like that intoxication which is there. And then he says revel of ideas. And I was looking at this word revel, and it means dancing and singing and like throwing oneself out in a kind of a play, in like enjoying oneself really thoroughly, with lots of dance and movement and energy. So that kind of intoxication of creation, it poured into the ever stable flux, a Bacchic rapture and revel of ideas. So enjoyment through the creation. What Joan was sharing earlier, that even the pang, even pain, even suffering is a delight here. Nothing is repulsive. So a Bacchic rapture and revel of ideas, enjoyment of ideas. A passion and motion of everlastingness. So again, the placing, we can see first it came ever stable's flux, and now it comes a passion and motion of everlastingness. So something which is forever there, everlasting, eternal, as we say. And yet there is a mood there is passion there is motion there, but it's all a great ever stable flux in which all the things are happening, and each thing is a delight. Each thing is a kind of intoxicating delight in itself. Yeah, anything here? Anyone? I think as we grow in our consciousness through lifetimes, slowly, one by one, step by step, there will come a time where all these pains and turmoils of our life, or whatever, pinches of our life also become delight, because that is our destiny. We all have to move towards that only. Mm. But as long as we keep living in this separate self, it is impossible that attraction and aversion are not there. It is impossible. We can't let go of that. So we can't force on ourselves that attraction and aversion should not be there, and inside we feel like a separate self. We can't force it. It's like a byproduct of that, living with that feeling of a separate self. Yeah, so we can take up some more lines, the lines in blue.
Sorry,
Yeah.
you were saying this. I remember a text of Sri Aurobindo in which he says, like the progress of this movement, our sadhana, our spiritual growth, and he says something like, first we arrive to, we are in a stage where we work like in a more heroic kind of movement in which we detach and we try to give some distance and not to be moved by the movement of life and prakriti and on all the turmoil. We try to first to detach, and the last destination of this movement is in fact joy. Like we will end in, at the end of the sadhana, at the end of this movement, in which at first is detachment, and then we come to this enjoyment, this ananda of the experience of every experience in life. So something like that, he said.
Yeah, true, very true. I think this I can also relate with what we were reading in the Inspirational Lives Conversations with Sri Aurobindo, where he tells Pavitra, first we have to disentangle, so see yourself as the witnessing consciousness and all the movements in it as Prakriti, and detach, what you were sharing, like we detach, we separate, and then he says, but that movement does not end there. Later on, they become, you realize them in that oneness, so all the movements and consciousness as one. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, would anyone want to read the lines in blue?
I read. There rose unborn into the unchanging surge thoughts that abide in the deathless consequence, words that in mortal lust's thought fallen mute, acts that brought out from silence its dumb sense, lines that convey the inexpressible.
Yeah. So in that movement, that ever stable flux, like, imagine a vast uh, bulging out river kind of in its gigantic flow. Hmm? So he says that there rose unborn into the unchanging surge thoughts that abide in their deathless consequence. So unborn, they are not born, they are just there, they are there. Hmm? And these thoughts that abide in their deathless consequence, I feel this refers to how uh, we continue karma over more karma, and that kind of never ends through our lifetime. We carry that baggage, deathless consequence. So we think that I would die and all the problems will be solved. Usually, when we commit suicide or think about that, it comes to us that, oh, mukti after my death is happened, but they say that that's not true. Wherever you leave, you start from there. It's not going anywhere. So it's like deathless consequence. So all our thoughts have a consequence. And I think that should make us more responsible regarding our thoughts. That, as Mother says, that we are always surrounded by the things that we think of. And we are free to choose what we are thinking of today. And as long as we continue to repeat that ego consciousness and the loop of me and my story and all the things which are associated with it, it just continues. The baggage continues. Thoughts that abide in their deathless consequence. And also along with that, he sees what is there rising in that flux that he sees, like coming up, which he can see. Words that immortal last though fallen mute. So these are words of masters, mystics, the Vedas, the Upanishads, the scriptures, all the good things that have been written and said by masters. They are immortal words, and they last forever. Although we may be kind of dumb to them, we may not be able to really understand what they are wanting to say, but it doesn't mean that they have gone. So they are immortal words. Words that immortal last though fallen mute, because we are giving focus to something else. I'm not ready yet to listen to that word, which is an immortal word, but that doesn't mean that this is not there. Its vibration will come off and on. Whenever I'm receptive, it comes to me, and then something new opens for me. Acts that brought out from silence its dumb sense. Lines that convey the inexpressible. So I found it very beautiful. Shraddhavan here shared about such an act. He says that once she was standing to visit the mother, and there was like a queue, like a line of people, queue of people, and mother is sitting in her room, and people are coming to visit her one by one. And then she was a little far behind Shraddhavan, and then she says that the mother, in silence, she made a gesture with her hands. And just that was enough. The gesture said everything that she wanted to convey to happen. And that is like Mother also says that we should use less and less of words amongst each other, and our vibration should be able to convey what we really want to say. So that kind of an act, I felt that was a very beautiful example. Acts that brought out from silence its dumb sense. So that which one struggles to express is expressed just right through an action. No words are required. Lines that convey the inexpressible. So again, that could refer to lines which are like, these are lines of Savitri, which we see each line is so special and conveys to us the inexpressible. Or lines could also mean the lines that we make with our pen or a pencil. So an artist, for example, may make such a kind of a line, and with that free flow of an artist's hand, he expresses something which is usually unexpressible. So whenever we visit exhibitions like that of artists and their works, we see that at times it happens that that a picture or a sketch or a whatever that one draws, it explains or expresses something which we struggle to express in words. That could also be lines that convey the inexpressible. Yeah. So we'll take just the last few lines for today, and after that we can end. Here and until this, the lines in yellow. Would anyone want to read?
Yeah, I'll read. The eternal stillness saw in unmoved joy his universal power at work display, In plots of pain and dramas of delight, the wonder of beauty of her will to be. All, even pain, was the soul's pleasure here. Here, all experience was a single plan, the thousandfold expression of the one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So when we talk of the story of creation, for example, we say that how Mother shares that the Lord wanted to manifest and he expressed out of himself his power, what we call the Divine Mother, the Aditi, and gave her the task of creation. So the eternal, the supreme Purusha, the stillness, the eternal stillness saw in unmoved joy. This word also I found very interesting because our joy moves us, right? A little bit of joy and we are moved. And Mother says that that is a kind of a weakness. We can't have a joy and a delight and be unmoved within. So it's like if we pour lots of water in a plastic cup, that plastic cup may just tumble down. It can't stand. But it's like if it's a solid stone or a rocky cup, a cup made of rocks or something, then you may keep pouring the flow, but it won't be moved. So it requires a lot of stability and strength so that one can have the flow and not be moved. So this, I feel that this also implies a lot of strength. So when we call of divine strength, talk about divine strength, and whenever we are able to contain within ourselves the joy and the delight, and not kind of spill it out, because when we spill it out, it's like a weakness. Because I can't hold it, I spill it out. So when we can have that calm delight within, I feel that that word also related to that. The eternal stillness saw in unmoved joy his universal power, the Divine Mother, the Aditi, or this power of creation, Prakriti, at work display in plots of pain and dramas of delight. So this is our life. We have plots of pain in our life and we also have dramas of delight. But this is all her play. His universal power at work display in plots of pain and dramas of light the wonder and beauty of her will to be. So she wants to express, it's like eternal expression that she is creating, and in that the plots of pain and the dramas of delight are just kind of there as part of that play. Nothing serious about that. So the wonder and beauty of her will to be. All, and this would refer to what Yuan was sharing in the beginning about even enjoying the pain, having the delight in pain, and true delight, all, even pain was the soul's pleasure here. And this also comes in Savitri somewhere else, that although for the outer being, our outer self, our tragedies and turmoils are very hard to bear, but each pang, each titan pang makes the spirit grow more fiery, because the spirit takes delight in that pang, because that pang kind of reveals the spirit even further, even more. So there is like a mixture of both pain and a delight. So pain may be there, the outer being will have a little bit of pain, but there is the fiery spirit within which takes a delight there. So all, even pain was the soul's pleasure here. All experience was a single plan. So for us, we don't want to go where we don't like to go. We want to go where we would like to go. So we have divisions, categorizations in our life. Most of us won't want suffering, and we would like to be happy and undisturbed and have more success and prosperity in our life, but not want the opposite of it. But here, all the experience is like one plan, single plan. And this we also see when we read Sri Aurobindo about rebirth, he says that it's just what the soul wants to experience in this life. If the soul has been experiencing a kingly birth in the other life, then maybe in this life it chooses just the opposite, because for the soul, every experience is just an experience. It is for the ego that we say that, oh, this is bad and this is good. For the soul, it is just an experience. So either living a beggar kind of a life in this life is also an experience, and living like a king in the previous one was also an experience. All experiences bring us lots of learning and assimilation and growth. So in that sense, it's all a single plan. Here, all experience was a single plan. There is no good, bad experience. This should happen, this should not happen. Nothing like that. Everything is just experience. And the soul chooses what kind of experience I want in this life. And it may take absolutely opposite of what it had before, earlier in the previous one. Because it wants to expand its horizons, have all kinds of experiences. The thousandfold expression of the one. So through all these myriad kind of experiences, the soul grows in its consciousness. It gains stature. It assimilates further learnings and learnings through all experiences. I think that would be one of the reasons why wise people in our life, they say that just to go through the experience, to have our learning through all that we are going through. Yeah. So I think we can stop here. If there are any reflections towards the end, anyone, we can take. Else we can end there today. Anything? Anyone? I think this really reading again Savitri opens up every time we read a few lines, and this also makes us open that usually we keep on judging people and we keep on judging ourselves for the experiences that we have in our life. So here when we see that all experience is a single plan, then we can take all of that which is happening in our stride and just continue to learn and assimilate and learn and grow. That's all. There is no experience which is a good one and a bad one. Yeah, anyone? Okay, so we can end here in today. So let's take a moment of silence to dedicate, share all the merit and goodness, collective and individual, sharing it like a prasad, how we share prasad with all the people who we meet on the way, sharing with all the innumerable sentient beings who are also wanting to be content, wanting to be happy. May we all have true contentment and true progress in our life. May all of us be well and happy, truly happy. Thank you.